saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, that brings us to public comment. Those wishing to speak must state their name and address for the record after they are acknowledged by the board chair. Each person will be limited to 2 minutes to make his or her remarks. Speakers will address all comments to the board as a whole and not one individual commissioner. The board may not take action on an item presented during public comment period unless the item is already on the agenda for action. When appropriate, the board may refer inquiries and items brought up during the public comment period to the county administrator for follow-up. And just as a general reminder, if you're here for public comment, we'd ask that you'd step up to the podium so that you can be heard. And with that, who would like to make public comment?
Melissa Zimmerman, 2525 Stony Creek Drive. Here about the East Side Corridor. In our meeting 3 months ago, we discussed concerns about the significant breakdown of trust in this project, primarily due to the lack of communication and transparency. At that time, the plan and timeline included a clear purpose and need statement and evaluation criteria, which were due back any day, with alternatives compared against this criteria within a few weeks. Before choosing a preferred route, commissioners promised to continue conversations with residents, proposed to hold an open house, and ensure they prioritize resident safety, as it was confirmed at this meeting these were not covered in any studies. This decision would determine where additional studies would happen. At the end of May, some residents, not even all directly impacted residents, received a flyer stating the purpose and need and evaluation criteria were finalized and milestones had been reached. The next steps involve selecting the alternative for further study. This flyer reads, the next steps will be evaluating the various corridor alternatives as described in the evaluation criteria memo, obtaining the Federal Highway Administration's concurrence with the evaluation of alternatives, and selecting the preferred alternative. This step is anticipated to be completed by early spring or summer of 2024. Step 3 of the project website reads similarly. These were the conversations we were promised to be part of. 2 weeks ago, I sent an email on behalf of residents asking when we could expect the recommended preferred alternative data and continued our discussions. As a couple of weeks had passed, Mr. Ilka indicated that commissioners would no longer be voting on a specific alternative for further study, and this information would only be available at the same time as the more in-depth studies this fall. In previous iterations, commissioners voted at every step. This time, however, we are moving forward without choosing where to focus further studies based on collected data of all alternatives, or was it already chosen and residents were denied the promised input? We're being told that the preferred alternative information will only be available when more thorough studies are completed. Something doesn't line up. We're hoping this is miscommunication and not broken promises. But if not, how is this approach proactive? How does it prioritize resident safety or work to improve trust and transparency? Where is the data for all of the routes compared to the purpose and need and evaluation criteria? Has step 3 moved forward without the agreed conversations? We had hoped we had turned a new leaf to repair trust and were promised better communication and transparency with stakeholders. The lack of communication in the handling of this situation is precisely why trust is lacking. Vital information is only provided if residents ask the right questions in the right way at the right time. As we continue to seek clarification, we are highly disappointed that promises were not honored and communication was withheld again. What can be done to repair the situation? What will commissioners do to uphold their promises? How are you going to fulfill your commitment to rebuilding trust? We feel deceived yet again. Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. Any other public comment?
Matt Senate, 2519 Stony Creek Drive. Here also talking about the East Side Corridor, which is a county trunk highway being proposed on the east side of town that runs alongside 150 homes in the neighborhood on the east Rose. And likewise, very frustrated with what I heard from our county engineer. I appreciate, first off, the dialogue. I appreciate him answering our questions that we proposed to him. And then he was upfront and honest about that, but it's not good news in that those important safety decisions, according to what I read from Mr. Ilka, are not being brought back to the commissioners. He says, commissioners always have a say. However, in my experience, elected officials generally let the process play out and make their decisions based on the information and outcomes of the process. Well, the process itself is not considering any of the safety measures of those residents and other Owatonna residents on the east side of town. It is only, and we've talked about this before at county meetings, but it's only taking into consideration the actual safety of the road itself to the motorist on that road. And that doesn't take into consideration any of the safety of the children in close proximity to the road, the residents, the noise in the homes, safety considerations with that anyway. And that's a big miss. And if we can't rely on you all to represent us to make sure that this road is safely placed, then yeah, I think it's a big miss. You know, that's what we're relying on you to do, and I really hope that you can interject and with the county engineers and make sure that you're part of that process and making sure that we have some safety with that road that's going out east, especially for kids' sake. And I think that's an important thing. So appreciate any involvement you can have on that, and if that particular issue comes to a vote, we're here. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? No more public comment. We'll close the meeting to public comment.